Truth. Truth is always an important part. Truth, justice, courage. Not really. Not in this situation. And you might go, Bobby, how do you... Where does... Wait, what? Yeah. Me too. This situation was about trust. You see, the problem with a narcissist in the game, I simply refuse to play. And if you know a narcissist, you should never play it either. They knife you in the back, they play dirty, and think about the church. They poisoned me with heavy metals, they murdered my friends. Kill, 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 threat, 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 kill, kill, thrill. We're gonna poison you, we're gonna threaten you, we're gonna poison you, we're gonna threaten you. Also, we have integrity. Poisoning people is not the act of somebody with integrity. Murdering somebody's friends is not the act of someone with integrity. Playing dirty and cheating at everything, or as you guys say, keep them fighting one hand behind their back because our malignant narcissistic church leader is a loser that has to cheat to win at anything. Okay. And once you have to admit you have to cheat to win, you have admitted you already lost because you decided to cheat from the beginning. It doesn't matter if you're taking on the not members of your church that you're like, I'm superior to, therefore I can cheat, which makes no goddamn sense, but okay. But when you have to lie to yourself, you have to lie to yourself. Which is the expression of a weak person, by the way. Narcissistic trust. I can do whatever I want to you, and you will always trust me. Even if I lie and get you killed or hurt, you have to trust me no matter what. This concept came up with Anal Eating Mummy God talking about Jeffrey Epstein, but it also came up with everything else in this situation. And I already did a video where I said we have to get this guy to trust us. That is why I'm going to sacrifice all of you. Like I said, this situation was about trust. This situation was about trauma. Everything I did down here was one big trauma response. The self-centeredness, as the cinema guys put it, is trauma. It's not self-centeredness. It's mental illness ignored by bastards who think mental illness is amazing. And why on earth do those guys do therapy? That makes no sense, and it's certainly not in alignment with the values of this church. I'm just going to be clear on that statement. Okay. I would argue it's against their values, or their lack of values in general, because it actually involves caring about other people, other than your violent, stupid human trafficking ring that eats women's brains and rapes babies. Okay. And that is all it is. And if you try to say it's something else, that is all it is. So, when I think about it, the only logical conclusion is the reason why the cinema guys do what they do is because they stole the idea from me. And they told me over the phone it was a bad idea, meaning they were jealous of it to begin with. And what do we know about jealousy? It means you're insecure. So, I would love to see an episode where both of those guys admit they're insecure and they steal other people's ideas, and no, they're not really smart, they don't actually care about psychology. Because this isn't the result of somebody that cares about psychology. This is somebody that doesn't care about psychology. This is somebody that thinks it's a joke. And maybe it is. Haha! Maybe mass shootings are hilarious. Maybe bombings are hilarious. This is a story about trauma and what happens when you take a traumatized person that you traumatized, and you might go, Bobby, that's not... No, agency. I'm giving you agency in this. Congratulations, how does it feel? Does it feel terrible? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel like you did something wrong and you're going to run from it because you're weak? I get why you're weak. I understand. Your church made you that way. You should go get away from it to prove you're not a weak person, or go against it to prove you're not a weak person. But both of us know you're a weak person. So, when I say this is about trauma, this is 95% about trauma. It has nothing to do with confidence. It has nothing to do with courage. And trauma, when I was forced to go to court by myself without a lawyer against that faggot fucking from Ackworth, the guy that poisoned me with cadmium at McDonald's, against his mother, I guess Uncle Ruckus's self-hating mother, and can I just ask you guys, quit sending black people out from your church to try and talk me down. Just stop doing it. One, it's racist. Okay? It's racist. Just go, look, you guys hate yourselves, you're black, you're part of the church, go kill yourselves. Get it over with. Make the white man feel superior. You're making them feel inferior by being a part of the church. You're poisoning the bloodline. Trauma. One of the most traumatizing things that ever happened in my life was when I was forced to go to court when I was extremely unwell from heavy metal poisoning and I put all my friends in prison. And then Blondie comes to Papa John's and goes, you don't have integrity, you put all your friends in prison. That happened because I was poisoned with heavy metals. And who poisoned me with heavy metals? Your church. And you might go, it's unfair to... No. Your church did that. Agency. So this is also a story of agency and how religious people have none. And I would argue if a religion removes agency from a person's life, that religion should be removed completely. Okay, somebody goes, well, it's my religion, that's why you have to die? Your religion goes in the toilet. You're going to have to come up with better excuses. Better excuses. Showing power. A big chunk of this was the church flexing its muscles and showing that even if they come across a person like myself, a stoic, mentally stable person who takes psychology seriously, unlike the cinema guys, and actually follows their values, which I did. By the way, if you weren't paying attention, I complained the entire time that a person should, even from before this even started, when I talked to Blondie, a person should never give themselves psychological help. They should never give themselves trauma therapy. They should never give themselves any of these things. Why the fuck do you think therapists and psychologists exist to begin with? That's a question you should ask Blondie, but his dumb ass is going to go, I give myself mental help all the time. Look at me. I'm totally mentally stable. You reported my church for raping women, eating women's brains, and having sex with babies. and I poisoned you with heavy metals till you were retarded. And then when things got bad, I blamed you and ran away. I'm so mentally stable. Best therapy? Sometimes is a bullet to the head. Yeah. Power. This is how much power we have over an individual to fuck them up and then blame them for everything that happened. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you've taken an autistic ADHD person that is traumatized from being beat, raped, waterboarded, and waterboarding is one of the worst traumas you can do to a person, and I would recommend every church member try it to prove to me it's not that bad. Try it for yourself. It's not that bad. Because even Annalene Mummy God said, oh God, you did what? Yeah. So even your fearless leader is terrified of being waterboarded. Sounds like a pussy to me. So, yeah. If you ever find yourself going, we're going to make the autistic ADHD guy with all the trauma and mental issues we gave him solve all our problems, and we're not going to help him, we're just going to ignore him and go, it's good, why isn't he doing what we wanted? Oh man, trauma. The word is trauma. It's a simple word. And it has tons of research. And even when I spoke to Blondie and Anal Eating Mummy God, I said you're going to take an extremely traumatized individual person who's going to be terrified out of their mind. They're going to have PTSD, borderline personality disorder. And I ran down the most likely psychological problems this individual had, assuming they didn't have something even more complex like ADHD or borderline or fucking choline disorder. Okay, from being poisoned with heavy metals. Being fucked up. And I told them there was no way in hell that guy would be able to do that. Because you people fucked him up, and Blondie, we didn't do that, you did that. If your church didn't exist, none of the bad things that happened to me would have happened to me. Okay, Stu would have murdered somebody in Ackworth and went to prison because nobody helped him, because he would have been alone, and he would have been out on his ass, which he should have been a long time ago. Now, and above all else, completely ignoring me, which is something that has been happening this entire time. One of the things I suggested to Blondie was Rain's mother. Rain, my friend they murdered, was a lawyer of some type. And I suggested to him that basically this guy, if there's a situation where it was possible that one of the people, the church, the bad people, and he said, we're not bad people, and you are bad people. One of the other people that wronged him could be like a lawyer, and they could go to like Florida and basically help that guy because they know lawyer stuff. And he went, no! Yes! I'm not even going to get into the stupidity of filing pro se, because when something like the AI and just general Google without the AI and lawyers I even talked to said filing pro se federal, that's like fucking human torture. It's amazing. And here's a really funny part about filing pro se federal. Even if I had done it, I would have had to prove mental incompetence. And this was never a test of courage. It was a test of a chemical process. Acetylcholine. And every test of courage is a test of a proper chemical process. If you give somebody something like scopolamine and it destroys their acetylcholine, you have taken away their willpower and their ability to move through fear. Congratulations, you alter somebody's brain and changed who they are to change the outcome of the situation. And this feeds back to something I said to Anal Eating Mummy God at the beginning of this, when I was at the racetrack gas station. I said, so you poisoned this guy with heavy metals so you can win. You altered somebody's psychology so you could beat them and called that a victory. And he went, yeah! And I was like, that is the most disgusting, insidious thing I have ever heard in my life. If you ever find yourself destroying a person's brain or psychology to win at something, you're a fucking loser. I was like, and you will never be anything else other than a loser who couldn't handle the fact that somebody had the superior mindset and superior thought process. And then he was like, well, it works 90% of the time. And I was like, then it works 90% of the time on people like you. And then he said, well, no, because there was this Freemason guy and we kept poisoning him with heavy metals and he never wavered, but he knew you were poisoning him with heavy metals. And that's why he didn't waver. It was an ego test. It wasn't an actual test. And then he went, argh! And throwing an emotionally ill person you made mentally ill into an unfair situation. An autistic ADHD person with borderline personality disorder, and extreme trauma from being assaulted, abused, and threatened by a bunch of assholes in a church, has to file pro se federal and go to court. Sounds like the opening of a joke to me. Sounds like the opening of something where somebody kneecapped somebody and then was like, yeah, but he lacks confidence. There isn't a single part of this test, and Anal Eating Mummy God, if he actually said this was a test of confidence, you guys might need to just admit this entire test had nothing to do with confidence. Uh, Once again, and there's more factors, honestly. There are things I probably missed in this situation. The only thing this situation is a definitive evidence block of is what happens when a person has no agency in anything they do. They blow your legs off, and the equivalence of having a parent, a good parent that takes care of you, you blow their legs off because they're taking care of you and you don't understand kindness. And then you go to the market and get me some food. They don't have any legs. They can't go to the market and go get you some food. And you did that. Okay. And this is the thing. I'm pretty sure when you hold these people to account, when I say you did that, the same way Blondie goes, this is your fault, and then he ran out like a child, ran away. It's the same thing to when you ask them for help and they get pissed because they go, you're making it my fault. Having agency isn't about blame. It's about having agency. And it's a part of being a man. If you do not have agency in what you do, you cannot be a man. So if not anything else, no member in your church that is of the masculine side should ever refer to themselves as a man in anything they do, ever. Including being a father. They should go, I am a pseudo-father figure. I am a pseudo-man figure. I am a pseudo-masculine figure. And this feeds into the one thing that cringed me at the beginning of this after I reported this church as a massive human trafficking ring. And a Sound of Freedom man came to my trailer to talk to me about human trafficking. And then I said, that's what happens when you run a stupid, filthy, disgusting human trafficking ring. And then he said, actually, the church made me a man. Men have agency, a Sound of Freedom man. You have no agency, so you can't be a man. And as soon as you start practicing agency, then you can be a man. But you're not gonna, because your ego is that fragile. I think this video kind of explains this entire situation in a nutshell. And if anybody ever brings this situation up to me, do not ever start with you lack confidence or courage when you chemically destroyed those things. When you physically beat those things out of me, when all I did was walk through you people, person after person after person after person. The only thing you guys have is what you covet so dearly, perseverance. It's not about being right, it's not about being correct, it's not about being just. It is about, I'm going to get what I want regardless of the atrocities I cause. It doesn't matter how many people I kill or hurt. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care.